So welcome to the September Legislative Committee meeting. Roll call of council members, myself is here, council member Shannon McHugh, and council member Katie Lepari.
Yes.
Do you, either one of you see any corrections, additions, or subtractions needed for the minutes of last minutes?
Nope.
Okay. Hearing none, is there anybody in the public gallery that would like to speak? If so, please state your name, residence, and keep it 3 to 5 minutes.
You sure?
Hearing and seeing none? Really? Come on, you're a thespian. Say
Oh,
something.
you want to sing something?
Yeah,
for us?
Probably
something.
say, you
Oh,
wanna
gosh.
say?
No. Okay. All right. Well, we are, on YouTube, so good. Okay, families.
This could be like your big
Make her
break.
YouTube
Yeah, it
famous.
could be a big deal. No? Okay. She's never gonna come to another meeting. Carrie, is there any correspondence?
None.
Hearing none, we'll move on to topic A, which is chapter 68 modifications under dog licensing.
Mhm.
Carrie, take it away.
Yeah, so the Cliff Notes version is, dog licensing is covered under Ag and Markets Law. Ag and Markets Law is currently enforced by the police department. We have an animal control officer who's able to enforce portions of the municipal code. So we'd like to add the sections requiring licensure as a local ordinance to allow them to be able to take effect and to notify public that their dogs need to be licensed. If they're not, he'd be able to enforce that instead of involving law enforcement and him having to go give a deposition, statement, warrant, court. He'd be able to cut out that middle portion.
Okay, I have a quick question. What about people with ESAs come college here?
They register with us, there is no cost, as long as they provide their documentation that that is in fact an ESA.
Okay.
Katie, any questions?
No, I think that's a really great streamline. Thank you.
Hearing none, we'll move this up to council so we can vote on it and then go out for public. Thank you, Carrie. Moving on to topic B, exterior maintenance code update. Steve Yearly.
So really the only thing in that ordinance update was the basic clarification of language and then that appeals section was added. The Board of Public Service seemed to be generally comfortable with that update, so I don't have a lot to add to it.
Okay. So we were given 2 documents today.
Oh, so that's chapter 86. So the building code update is chapter 86.
Oh, okay, so just on the exterior maintenance code was the
Appeals.
administration or the appeals aspect of it.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, like I said, there was some language clarification, but the nuts and bolts of it are the same. There's nothing being added to the exterior maintenance code that isn't already,
Right, it was just the appeals section.
it's just the appeals section. That was the new section.
Right. Okay. Thoughts?
I don't have any major thoughts, but like, if that's the only change, she still wants to take it home?
No, that's not this.
Oh,
Yeah, that's different.
That's different.
okay. That's
So what he provided us last month,
yes,
Last
okay,
one.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
it just wasn't part of our packet, but we were given that information last month.
Right.
I didn't see anything else to add or subtract. And, I mean, we had the Board of Public Safety,
Yeah.
Public Service, sorry, here, so, I mean, that's a rarity, right, to have, was it 4 or 5 of them here, so
Yeah.
they had an opportunity to go through it with us.
Yes.
And then I think we're all on the same email. We're gonna hear back from our city attorney because the chairman of that is asking the question to move forward,
Oh, okay.
right? We're all on that same email. And she said this afternoon
I don't think I'm on there
I'm
yet.
not on that anymore.
Yeah, me either.
I don't think.
I think we are all on. I'm gonna go back to,
No, not everybody.
not everybody?
I can hold it.
Thank you,
I
Carrie.
think you should. So you can forward it then? Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't get it. To Steven too, right? Okay.
Okay.
What was the question? Or what's?
Yeah, could you just summarize it for us, please?
So Ginny had asked the question whether this was legal or not, and
Oh, right.
so that was back on 8/29. I apologize, Steve, I didn't notice that you're not on there. Are you not on? Okay, so on 8/29, Ginny sent an email to Marge and our city attorney, Greg, Carrie, and I guess myself, so, sorry, I didn't notice you guys were on it. All, do we have confirmation that this process is legal? If so, are there certain procedures that need to be followed to meet the legality? My suggestion, if legal, is a copy of the tax return. If one is filed, this will
Oh.
confirm the revenue sources that are accounted for.
Yeah, no.
Verification.
Okay.
The financial hardship question.
Yeah.
Correct,
Okay.
okay? So that would probably be the last part before we put this together in front of the council, is just to let the city attorney rule on that.
Yeah.
And then can you just tell us what if for some reason he doesn't capture all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's legal because it's the same process that's used for zoning.
Okay.
I mean, it's commonly, that language just mirrors financial hardship language that's used in other types of appeals boards. So it's up to the board to take in the financial documents, make a determination whether they meet the requirement, and then review them.
Okay.
What courts have determined is that meeting that financial hardship doesn't necessarily mean you need like a tax professional there. You just have to show that you meet a reasonable standard, that it was like after review, that it was not falsified. So yeah, that process is used in many other types of appeals.
Okay.
So I'm confident that will happen.
Anything else?
No.
I would just point out, just reading through the exterior update,
But we took that out.
where it references hardship, it doesn't explicitly state what documents are provided, like what Marge was asking about in email. I think that would be, regardless of what the city attorney's feedback is on that, I don't think it would end up changing the language of the code.
No. No.
Okay.
Just be how it's implemented.
Yeah. Boards have a lot of discretion, as long as they're doing the process they're supposed to do.
So Carrie, when you sent that, everybody has the entire thread?
Whoa, I just got it.
All right, once you get the answer from the city attorney, finalize it, if you would just move it up to council, but in our perspective, we'll feel that it's going up to council.
Sure.
All right, Steve, building code update?
So this section that was sent this afternoon is a much bigger rewrite of the certificate of compliance and fire inspection portion of the code. A lot of the concerns, complaints, questions we've had about how that process works, it's kind of directly related to the code being kind of vague. The code uses a lot of language currently like forms provided by the code office, inspections, as required by the code enforcement office. So what this rewrite does, it goes through and it literally is codifying every process that we currently do for fire inspections
Mhm.
and rental registration inspections. So basically, it's moved to, if you go through this
Oh, cool.
and read, it will tell you exactly, literally down to smoke detector forms we do annually,
Oh, cool.
property use forms. Like, it's basically, I think, a very specific piece by piece, how everything is supposed to work, no more inspectors as deemed by the city engineer. Cause there's a lot of, I mean, the ordinance itself referenced still like Greg used to be the city engineer and was technically in charge of the code office. They removed all the references to the city engineer issuing certificates of compliance. So it's basically just a rewrite that kind of puts everything, it removes kind of the on this property heretofore, like all the weird kind of old
Yeah,
legalese.
yeah.
It references our new appeals process, so.
Saw that.
So like, instead of having like its own weirdo independent appeal process, it just says reference to chapter 94, whatever, for the appeals. So it'd be the exact same appeal for brush pickup, snow,
Cool.
mowing, admin fees, cars parked on the lawn, it's all one blanket appeal system.
That's great.
This is
Um,
fantastic.
It specifically says like what has to be on violation notices, so it gives a little better like, basically, it's just a clarification document.
So that any layman will be able to understand, that's what you did? You just
Yeah.
kind of,
So basically what it did was it takes all of the little like, I hate to call it like the minutia of the office that maybe wasn't in the code, but we
Right.
just were doing. And literally says, this is exactly what it looks like. This is how you file it, this is who's getting a notice of violation, this is the form you have to file, this is how frequently you have to file it. It kind of just does it clarifies. It puts it in a better flow, like some of that stuff was scattered throughout. Part of it was in, chapter 86, then another part would be in chapter, 87, and they were kind of just spread out, so it puts it all in one spot. It also took out, there were references in the old code that, were for chapters that no longer exist or were like renumbered.
okay,
So it would be like, see the violation section in chapter 91, and you go to it, and you'd be like, that's not the violation section anymore. So it removes kind of some of that stuff. It had some stuff about like the city manager performing functions, but we don't have a city manager, so it took that stuff out and replaced it with the current city administrator system. So it's just cleaning and clarifying and then referencing that one big appeals section that we just went over. So it should streamline everything.
Yeah.
so, given that the rest of the council members are gonna wanna have an opportunity to read this also, do you guys, what is your thought process? Do you wanna
I think we should just
take a
send it
month?
up.
Yeah, do you wanna take a month and us read it, come back, or do you wanna take it up and everybody read
I
it?
think we should just take it up. I love it. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's fine.
Everybody's to review it anyway.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
Then it also had some definitions, like our current code doesn't have a definition for rental property. So we're running around making rental properties register, but there was no definition for what that means. So one of the things that would come up a lot is like, well, if I own a house and I let my kid live in it, is it a rental property? And we're like, well, I don't know, because the code originally said, if it was owner occupied. But like, is my kid an owner, is my kid an occupant, is it a rental property? So like, we added a definition for rental property that specifically says, if your kid lives in the house that you own, it is not a rental property. So it just kind of like, there's an attempt to just clean up some of the stuff that was
Right.
just kind of floating around in kind of a weird gray area.
Alright, so, why don't we take 86 up, the full council? It seems like we have consensus for that. Are you gonna be doing this with any other ones? I know time is of the essence with you, so I was just,
We have other stuff that's in process that I'm helping the office finish. So yeah, there'll be more stuff. Yeah, but this was the most important because it literally is like what we do and kind of what we're.
okay. Alright, so,
it's referencing the appeal section, there's gonna be that one section of chapter 91 is the appeal section. So what this code says is, if you have an appeal, see the appeals process in chapter 91, because it's the same. Instead of having like a redundant additional section in this chapter.
Between you and Greg on the garbage, is there any part of this that needs to be tweaked or not for Water Street? Or are we good to go?
I mean, Water Street's obviously a special unique case where there is no backyard, but I think it's addressed, ultimately they can't have garbage stored outside, not if they comply with this code like anyone else. I think that the solution there is outside of the code process, really more of between the property owners and the haulers,
Right.
potentially the city for allowing them to use our property that we're looking at to find a solution. If there, I think it talks about if there's a screened area that's outside, that's something that is a potential.
The existing exterior maintenance code, that update basically just says if you have no backyard, then you're just supposed to store it in the least offensive place. So if we're talking about Water Street, then
Yeah.
zoning code would also require screening, if you have
It
permanent
says
dumpsters.
if no rear yard exists or physical constraints make rear yard storage impractical, Water Street, receptacles shall be stored in the least visible location, screened from the public view to the greatest extent possible, and in compliance with all other provisions of the code.
Which means the garbage has to be removed within 24 hours.
Hmm.
Because we know that there's some spots, and Water Street's a great example, there is no backyard. There's no practical way to address it.
Right. I mean, I'm just hopeful that collectively, all those building owners go to what is being suggested, but nothing mandates them to. And so what will it look like if they don't join this co-op?
Then we would enforce it, they would be enforced on
If
it.
their trash is outside in coders 7 days a week, then they would end up getting tickets.
Right. Or the city would remove it at the cost.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so then we'll look at moving 91 up also.
Okay.
Yep.
You want both of those obviously laid on the desks and as a discussion item or a
Yeah.
consent item?
I would say a discussion so that everybody has an opportunity to ask questions if they want to. Will you still be around?
Yeah, I'll come.
That's
we can
generous.
answer questions, right?
Because it was what, the 16th? I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so then, I guess my questions to Shannon, did you get an opportunity to read the literature that Katie gave us?
Yeah, some of it, yeah, I think most of it is not.
That sent me down a few rabbit holes for quite a few hours.
Okay.
I see.
I know.
Well, that's just one.
We're gonna have to,
So, I guess, Katie, why don't you kind of give your thoughts on why you think we need rent control?
Sure.
And what would you hope to gain from it?
Sure. So it's not as prevalent in your neighborhood, but in mine, there are the majority of houses over 60%. In fact, when I first started, Stephen sent me a GIS map of all the rental properties in my ward, and it's like 5 to 1.
5 rental to single family?
Center City's the highest concentration of
Yeah.
rental property.
So, what has happened based on our economic climate is that housing has become cannibalized and utilized as a cash cow. For 10 months of the year, it's students, college rentals, and then for 2 months of the year, it's short-term rentals. So, I think for me, this is just a tool because, you know, I know that code enforcement spends a lot of time. So we passed the short-term rental update, and, so it should only be folks who are renting their primary residence, but what's happening is either, student rentals are being left empty for 2 months, being totally vacant, or, the code enforcement office is playing whack-a-mole with, people who are utilizing their student rentals as short-term rentals over the summer, and having to keep a track of who has a variance, that was granted prior to the short-term rental legislation, or, you know, who's trying to skirt, is it their primary residence, is it listed as a rental, so there's a lot of legwork involved in that. So by establishing a maximum base rent, and the goal would be to equalize the profitability, to make it equally as profitable to rent to not just locals, but I mean people who are, you know, moving here, who are living here year-round residents, people who want to live here and work here. As it is right now, where, I mean, landlords are charging, you know, $3,000 per room per semester, and then thousands of dollars a week in the summer. So, you know, there's no incentive to offer a unit at a reasonable, affordable rate at this point. So this is one of the things that I've looked at that would kind of level out playing fields. I think the main argument that I hear for it is right here on this first page, where it says, if owners are not allowed to jack up their rents, they have less revenue to spend on maintenance and improvements. And I would like to take both Michael Hendricks and anybody who thinks that around the Fourth Ward to show them houses that are used as 10-month student rentals and then 2-month short-term rentals, and have them point out to me where increased revenue is directly correlated to increased investment in the property, because it's not. And I sound salty about this because I am, because I've watched my neighborhood turn into a ghost town, and it's coming back. But I think I don't view divestment as a threat. I view it as part of the goal. With fewer houses owned by a smaller concentration of people, there are houses available. There are affordable units, and there are houses available for people trying to enter the market and purchase a home and put down roots in our community. So I don't see that as a bad thing.
Okay.
So I haven't read the whole article, but I did highlight that right on the first page, because that for me is the main argument that I hear against it. But it doesn't sound so bad to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're concerned primarily for your ward?
All the wards.
Well, I'm just asking the question.
No,
Yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, Center City particularly has been, like I said, completely just decimated by,
And so
in fact, it's not primarily
and I'm
my
not
ward.
I'm not disagreeing with it.
Because up on West Street, I know someone who got into a bidding war with a local landlord and simply got outbid on a house that had been a single-family home that this person wanted to turn into a short-term
Right.
rental.
And I was gonna mention that as well, is that I know several people who flip, or no, not flip them, but they turn them into student rentals, or they make them multiple units. And they just go around looking for these like cheaper houses, the houses that typically people would come into the market here and buy and have available to them. They're buying up, and they've got, I mean, how many units does Peter Clark have?
What's
Well,
prime
let's
now
try
is the
not to-
biggest one of
Let's
it.
try not to,
Or, but
there's a few.
either way,
larger, yeah.
there's a few people who are actively doing this. And so if you've got 3 or 4 or 5 people doing this, how do they compete? How do people coming in the market to put roots down here compete? And oh gosh, and I want to say at least for the past 2 weeks, I've seen multiple messages from people. Someone even posted on my council page being like, I'm coming to be a nurse, I don't have anywhere to live, I don't have anywhere to go. How do I even, where do I even start? Like, I've been trying to get a hold of realtors. I don't think, there's just not anything available to these
Right.
professionals, and they do want to participate in being in our community.
Right, and for me, this is a counter to, what's happening is effectively price fixing, because they're all charging this amount of rent, so that's what it costs, right? So if this one raises the rent, but this one's $20 lower, you know, maybe somebody will go there. But they're basically creating their own inflated market. And this counters that by saying, here's where the market is, and you can do, you know, I mean, you can, the other thing that's really great about this is that you can apply for exemption to the maximum base rent based on improvements to your property. So again, this idea that there's some sort of lower maintenance standard or divestment is not
Yeah, I would
rooted in
just
fact.
try to be a little bit more objective to the entire article, and that's just one that I found. There's a lot of good information in that article, like there was
Yeah,
good
give us your-
information
give
in the
us your
stuff
key
that,
points.
to what you gave me. But I guess for me, coming off of page 14, so this one that you gave us, is the requirements for the legislation that was reinforced back in 2019.
Mhm.
How many buildings, not units, how many buildings in your ward meet this standard? Because it's literally says, must be in 6 or more unit building built before 1974.
I
So
think it's or.
when there's no or, it literally says, must be in a 6 or more unit building built before 1974. So when I read that, I was like, oh.
Okay.
And then we need a county rent guidelines board will be established.
That's for a county.
No, that's
We
the
have a
county
county
will
one.
set up and the municipality falls within the county. I went as far as I've read the legislation.
Okay, I did too.
It's definitely creating another layer of government to oversee this.
Absolutely.
But, I guess for me is that looking at your ward and every other ward except for the first ward and the sixth ward, the majority of us won't qualify.
Okay, let me pull it up because I don't have it in front of me.
So
Okay, so that's
I just
nice.
wanted to understand what is it that we're trying to get to? I think there's other tools to get us there.
And yeah, I don't think we're saying this is like the ultimate tool. I think
Yeah.
that there's,
Because as this
or
article,
me, let me just say.
I wanted to say it, but I let somebody from the Manhattan Institute say it. For me, this is about supply and demand. And so I'm visual, so I look at the city of Oneonta as a circle. And we have built on 98% of vacant land. There's literally down to 2 parcels inside the 6th ward that are 5 acres or above that we can create opportunity for housing.
Mm-hmm.
And then working with the Housing Commission is looking at parcels that the city owns that potentially could get new housing. So the more new housing we have for the traveling nurses or whatever, they have an opportunity. So the more supply you have, the demand decreases. Meaning, I see where the rent control could have a benefit to the people that are renting now, but I don't see where they're gonna have the new people coming in are gonna have that opportunity. I don't see it at all. And then when you look at the other parts of our city, you're not gonna be able to go after, how do I do this without names? There's other housing associations, maybe that's not the right word, that are already government run, that have hundreds and hundreds of units. And this legislation will not apply to them because they already go after, from Section 8 to other low-income, not grants, but the system. So you're not gonna be able to control that. So the 9-story building that we have in the 6th ward, you're not gonna be able to go after. And all of the housing that's been built 6 years ago, you're not gonna be able to go after that, and you're definitely not gonna get the one that's two years ago. So all of that's gonna be off the chart. I'm not disagreeing with you, I know.
Well, you are, but that's fine, that's
No,
not right.
I'm not saying, I think that there's another way about it. If the goal is to get to single-family homes, how do you
Well, it's
incentivize?
not necessarily to get to single-family homes, it's to make housing in Center City affordable to more than one market.
Right, and what's an opportunity is what Steve started with ADUs. Why hasn't one property owner moved forward on an ADU? I mean,
Because
we
you have
even-
to
we
build
even changed-
ADUs, that's
Huh?
not the goal, I mean, that is one tool, that's what you're saying, that's.
Right,
and
that's a
I'm sorry to cut
tool,
you off.
and-
But I'm not building an ADU in my backyard, I don't wanna do that. What I want is a neighbor in the house next to me
Mhm,
who lives there
mhm.
all year round.
Because I have been out in the public saying, I'm concerned that our marketing, our housing is gonna shift. We're down 1,600 students, and who do you talk to? I don't understand if we're at the bottom and we're coming out, or we're still going down. But if that 1,600 doesn't start coming up, then that housing, what happens to that housing? What will they do with that housing?
But in the
They'll-
past.
Let it rot.
Right,
No.
no, they did
No,
though.
they
They
won't.
do.
When
Yes,
there
they
was
do.
COVID,
No,
They
they
let
go
it-
to summer, they're going to the tourism, that's what they're going.
I
You
had a
can-
house across the street from me that has been rented every year since it was sold to a student landlord that was completely vacant last year. They didn't sell it. There's 43 Ford was vacant last year. They didn't sell it. This year there are tenants. They wait. They're waiting.
and when they had a slump in numbers, right, when the COVID thing happened and they were having a hard time building back up, they just sat. The
They just
housing
sat
just
there.
sat there. They didn't go
Empty.
anywhere.
Right,
Yeah.
and so is that the landowner not knowing that where are we in the bell curve of student population? I,
I think you're giving them a lot of credit.
who
I think that
am I giving credit?
people who own multiple properties in our community are in a financial position to sit on those properties as part of their portfolio.
Well, when Mark Davies was with us, he's the one that enlightened us that this is a national thing. It's not just the city of Oneonta with
I
2
understand
colleges.
that.
And so if it's a 10-year rate, these property owners that you're referring to are gonna sit there for another 8 years.
Here's the thing, the first step of this is to do a vacancy study. We have a housing commission. Why can we not push it over there, have them do the vacancy study, see if we would even qualify to enact the legislation?
So you're envisioning the volunteers on the housing commission to
To
do
look at the
the
data.
vacancy study?
You would wanna hire a consultant.
Correct.
I mean, I just, so so Kingston, when they enacted this,
Mhm.
they were sued by a group of landlords.
Mhm.
And what saved them was they had done a very thorough, like mathematically methodical vacancy study. If you pass something like rent control in Oneonta, I'm going to assume that landlords will sue you.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you go to court, you're gonna want a very thorough,
Okay.
like mathematically methodical, because that was literally one of the things that was cited by the judge was how tight that vacancy study was.
Okay,
So like, I mean, take it for what it is, I wouldn't have the housing commission do a vacancy study.
okay.
But, I mean, you could have the housing commission discuss the results of it, but I would say you probably wanna hire a consultant to do that.
You should hire Kingston's consultant.
I mean, that's what you could do, you could literally contact Kingston and be like, who did this, and if they did it, they probably know other people that do it too.
Okay.
But that was one of the things that like, when I read that case, I was like, okay, so this is one of the big sticks in this whole case was, the landlord said the vacancy study wasn't accurate, it didn't follow correct you know, they hired a consultant of their own to review the vacancy study,
Okay,
so you would wanna have something pretty tight,
okay,
not
thank you.
something that like people do on an Excel
So
spreadsheet.
you sound like you're pretty knowledgeable about Kingston. Is their city similar to ours in the housing stock?
No.
I would-
No, I mean, it's different, but I'm just saying, if this is something you wanna pursue, having a volunteer commission do a housing vacancy study. is
I wouldn't wanna put them in that position of liability.
Steve, and just to be a pain, any cities that are similar to ours that have this?
No, I mean, so rent control is intended to, I mean, it started obviously in like New York City.
Right.
It was a city thing.
Right.
We're obviously a small city, we would probably be one of the smallest cities, I can't think of any, like, they're all typically in larger metropolitan areas. Mostly because the housing stock, the number of 6-unit houses we have that have not been substantially changed or improved since 1974, is not giant.
Mhm.
So it disqualifies a lot of property. But yeah, I mean, if you were gonna do it, you could do it, you would just need to have someone, I would just advise that you have a consultant. We have the number of 6-family units in the code office, like that's something we could easily generate.
Mhm.
So you could, I mean, I could probably tomorrow tell you how many 6-unit and up dwelling units you have that were constructed after that, or prior to 1974.
Is that a project that could move over to GIS so that we could see where it's located?
I mean, I think I even have that already in GIS. Good, that's how I provided Katie with the map. So
Yeah.
like, I have a GIS map that I think I can show you that shows within a handful of units, and that's what you'd wanna tie down. Like, a consultant would go through and make sure that the data we have from the county is perfect. That's where they would dial down.
Okay.
They would get the, you know, cause all it takes in a small pool is to miss 2 units, and then all of a sudden your vacancy,
Right,
because that's what, in the Kingston case, the landlords who filed the lawsuit argued that the vacancy rate was like 0.8% off or something, and that's what triggered it.
okay.
So like, you wanna make sure that not only did you have the exact number of buildings, but you also have the exact number of units. And they did a thing where a no response was a vacancy, and the judge upheld that as well. So if the landlord failed to respond to the vacancy survey, it was counted as vacant, and the judge upheld that was an appropriate and plausible.
Correct.
Okay.
Which wouldn't help this piece of legislation because it has to be less than 5% vacancy.
Oh, sorry, reverse, in reverse.
Oh.
The judge upheld it, a no response to the vacancy report.
Meant that it was occupied.
Was occupied, right.
Okay. So when did Kingston go through that process?
They're like still going through that process. It's been in the last 5 years, this lawsuit thing's been back.
Going back and forth for 5 years.
Yes.
And so,
This would be a multi-year process. This is not something you're
oh,
gonna do today.
Right.
I understand. But what good has actually come out of it? Has housing stabilized? Has anybody knocked on Kingston's doors and said, hey, I wanna build more, so I'm in rent control?
Well, new buildings wouldn't be under rent control.
Correct.
Um,
And then, are they seeing any existing units being converted over to condominiums? Because what I've researched on the internet, that's a way out of this.
Huh?
Yeah.
like, so.
Wait, I didn't hear you.
So,
Let's
somebody
look it
that
up now.
owns 6 units could actually convert it over to a condominium, and then that's a loophole. So, they can get out of this that way. I agree with you. I don't want a ghost town either. I want a neighbor. I just think that there's other tools to do it.
I mean, I agree, I didn't say this was the only tool, but it does seem that it's, go ahead.
And a vacancy study needs to happen regardless, right? I think it would be important for any step that we take to address housing. So I feel like that would be money well spent. Because you keep mentioning other tools, what tools?
So
did you
previous
remember?
councils, goes all the way back to when Dick Miller was our mayor, had tax incentives, 480, what is it, Steve, you gotta memorize, 484, is that the number, 482, something like that?
Yeah.
So if you wanna get people to invest into their properties, you basically dust off these, and Katie, you've been with us, dust off those tax incentives and get people, you're gonna collect the same amount of tax today as you're getting, but but you're gonna incrementally go up, and I think we need to look at the ones for 10 years, so that you get 10 years to collect your investment, and then you're gonna get fully taxed.
Well, isn't that the intent of the Landmarks and Historic Preservation legislation?
Well, that's for exterior improvements in those
Right.
districts.
Yeah,
Yep.
but like that's,
But there's other ones that exist for, like 3-unit buildings, but you have to sign, instead of getting a tax incentive for improvements, you get a tax incentive for renting to low to moderate, low moderate income, there's income
Yeah.
qualifications on those.
okay,
Yeah, there was 6 of them, I think. I'd have to dust them off myself and look at them again.
sent them, yep.
But that's another way, incentivizing. I would like to figure out how to incentivize the current property owners that have been going after student rentals to look at a different model.
Yep,
Because I agree with you, we need neighbors that are here 12 months out of the year, not 1 week.
mhm. Okay. I did go through a presentation from an organization that focuses on that in, again, like places that are not like Oneonta, like the Hamptons and Tahoe. And they were intrigued by our situation. Stefan was on that call. I don't know if he is still on the Housing Commission.
He is, he's still chair.
But that would be great in terms of another, it doesn't require legislation at the outset, so that would be something that we would want to start in the Housing Commission. So that's called Lease to Locals.
What is it?
Lease to Locals. And they basically help municipalities incentivize, longer term leases.
So
That's the name of the organization,
Lease to
Lease
Locals.
to locals.
is the organization.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
Obviously, more similar to the Hamptons than here, but, so Nantucket has a similar problem where different income level, but they have a hard time getting like doctors and firemen and nurses and to live there because their housing costs make ours look, I mean, you're buying a
Right.
900 square foot house for $2 million there.
Correct.
They have done a lot of programs like what Lease to Local does, which incentivize longer term leases versus, because they have a lot of summer leasing there.
Mhm.
So people are like, I can get an apartment for 6 months, then I get booted out.
Mhm.
And the other weird thing they have is they have a lot of large corporations that own housing, like bars and
Oh.
restaurants. And what they'll do is they'll move their workers in for the summer and then move them out, so it messes up
That's
the
crazy.
rental market. But they have similar programming. They are a community that works with another organization that's like Lease to Locals that
Oh, okay.
provides incentives to like long-term lease, long-term rents,
Yeah.
What kind of incentives are they giving them, Steve?
financial, basically
I understand
offsets.
it. Is it straight out cash, or is it tax
It's a mix.
reduction?
Some of it's a tax reduction, some of it's actually subsidizing rents.
Right.
Yeah, they have a whole bunch of different programs. Some of them are, the ADU stuff was a big part of Nantucket's program to build additional housing units. I mean, New York State even offers, right now, you can get grant money to build ADUs. So there's money to do it, you just have to get it.
Cool.
Thank you for the
You're welcome.
lease to locals. I wanna look that up. And you said Stephen was on the phone call with you on it?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, we have housing commission on Wednesday, I believe.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure he, backburnered that at the
So.
time.
How long ago was this?
It was maybe early in the summer,
A couple months
a
ago.
couple months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would be something, but yeah, I didn't realize that there were, more organizations that do that, so I think that that would be a really hugely valuable, because I think, right, the goal would not to just have it be punitive or limiting, that having incentives
Yeah.
toward the goal would be great.
Right.
And of course, you know, investment in existing properties is huge, but, for me, it's about changing the market, right? It's about trying to, right size, to use a phrase we all love, the amount of housing that is available for a certain purpose, and then balance that with what our other needs are, which is like our workforce.
Right, so Steve, we've talked about this before, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, we talked about this, is that can we create a moratorium where we don't allow any new rentals, whether it's,
Yes, I would love to talk about that, like a saturation point.
because if you're 5 to 1, we talked about this, I think, well, actually, it was a couple years ago when we looked at the zoning map, did we do it then?
Yeah, so the way, the tricky part about that is you have to tie it to something like,
Parking,
yeah, like on-street parking.
I remember you saying that, Ma.
Yeah, so in Minnesota, there was a case where they passed what amounted to a rental moratorium. And they said we would only issue, like, if a block had more than 30% rental, they wouldn't issue new rental permits. And they tied it to on-street parking and
Traffic congestion.
public safety.
Okay.
Basically, like, they were like, we can't increase density because we don't have the, you know, the capacity for all these cars to park and fire and police. And so they tied it to that, and you have to basically have something to back that up. You can't just say it.
Right.
You have
But
to
the-
actually do the, which you could do.
But the thing is, like, it's not that more units are the problem, right? I mean, it's
What do you mean?
affordable units.
R-
Like,
Right,
so I don't have a problem with all the housing being rentals. The issue is that the fabric of our community in Center City is patchy because it's people who are here for a couple months and then the cast of characters changes and sometimes they're here for a week, like you said, and so it's not more units. Like, we want to increase density. We've passed a ton of legislation to help increase density, including the ADU legislation. The issue is that property now can be used for unfettered profit, and I'm trying to fetter it so that there's incentive to,
Right, so,
rent to
I mean-
people who don't have parents who will pay $3,500 for 2 months worth of rent.
Right. But also, is it
In a
helping
crappy
our
house.
local businesses, our local restaurants, our local whatever? I don't think it is, so
What do you
that's.
mean?
Well, my concern is that when we shift housing to, if we don't figure out an incentive for the folks that own existing housing to look at a different model, whether it's a, other than a 9-month lease or a 1 week, that we're gonna lose more housing to that.
Also, they're not 9-month leases, they're like 3 month at a time leases. They're per semester,
Okay,
yeah. Not all of them, some of them are school year.
okay, so then
But
they would
some
be
of them
down.
are per semester.
Right. So, they're not, those aren't helping, especially when you get to, the folks that are only gonna be here for 3 months out of the year. So whether they're here for 3 months, or they're here for a week, they're not helping our restaurants and our small business owners for the other months of the year.
Right.
That's what I'm envisioning, so I'd like to pursue other avenues. I wanna check out this lease to locals, because that's where we're headed, is into a tourism market.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with that, and I think that it needs to be like a multifaceted, it's a big problem that we've been trying to solve since, I don't know how long, a really long time. But I don't think that restricting the amount of rent that can be charged in some of these gigantic homes, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. Let's put it that way. Because I think that if the amount of rent that was able to be charged for these shorter term leases was capped, the amount to incentivize longer term leases would be much smaller. Like right now, the difference is like this. mean,
What's-
like this,
For-
long-term
What is that?
leases.
That's a long-term lease.
This is
And what
students
is
and
that?
tourists. Right? So, right now, this gap is huge, and if we can bring this gap smaller, it's more attainable.
Mhm.
So I think it needs to be both.
Well,
I
I think
don't-
we need to keep researching.
Sure.
So you're gonna give us a map, GIS
Yeah, I
map,
can get you a map.
and then tell us how many units actually would qualify, to what's your best of your knowledge right now. I think we all need to keep looking for other options. We'll dust off those tax incentives, we'll look at this lease to locals, because I think
Right.
that is of interest.
Well, and I would be interested in other organizations
And
that
other
do it, or
organizations
other,
similar.
like, not to put work
I
on
mean,
you on your
some
very last day.
municipalities even do it, they literally
Right.
set up a rental fund, I mean.
Right.
That's, I mean, that's money,
Yeah,
that's the government, like, straight out.
Subsidizing.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's why I asked you, what is the incentives? Whether it's
Yeah.
cash or a tax deduction, or what is
All
it?
the above.
All of the above. And, you know, and I also hear that we want more single families in Center City. That's gone, so,
Yeah, I mean, even if there were acceptable places, like I said, for single families to rent, that would be, that would be fine. But right now, they're subpar because, the standards are very different when you have a child versus when you're playing beer pong. You know, yeah, I mean, it's just not, you can't pay as much when daycare costs $14,000 a year.
easily.
So, it's, yeah, it's just two wildly different demographics. And we just need to make it, because I would like some more, I mean, and that being said, I have really great neighbors who are students, so I'm not complaining about them,
Right.
only that they don't stick around.
Especially after they graduate,
Right.
because they can't afford the housing.
Right, exactly.
Because I go through this with Hartford College students all the time. Why
Right.
can't you stay? I can't afford housing,
Right, totally.
so. Okay. Please read the article that I sent over to you guys, that Carrie printed for me. Thank you, Carrie. Greg, do you have anything to add to the topics?
No, no.
Okay.
There's something you're thinking of? Or-
No?